Okay, good evening, Indivisibles. How is everybody tonight? We fired up? Fired up for another candidate forum? Yeah, let's hear it for these candidates. How lucky we are. Next slide, Tig. All right, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Ray Ellen Smith. I'm the president of Indivisible Albuquerque, and I'm welcoming you here to the Lobo Theater tonight. It's been here since 1932, pretty impressive. Amanda Santana's our interim vice president. She's at the back helping work the Zoom. We have Michelle Benton is here as our secretary. Michelle, there you are. The lights are in my eyes and I can't see very well, so thank you. Claudia Cleasert, our treasurer, I believe she had to leave, but she's here in spirit. Chris Hayward, our parliamentarian, is here. Thank you, Chris, for all the work you do. Kathleen O'Malley's here. She's one of our at-large board members. Laura Nunez is here. Tiffany Stevens is here. And Milo Cleasert had to write a paper. You know, he's a junior in college. He was a little busy. So we wish him all the best on that. Oh, Willie. It's because you're right in front of me. Willie Orr books all of our speakers, and we'd be nothing without him, so it's fabulous. So a few meeting courtesy things. Keep your side conversations to a minimum. I'm going to ask you to take your cell phone out right now and put it on silent. There's nothing worse than being in the middle of a really important answer and having somebody's cell phone go off. So we're going to ask you to do that. Please consider buying food and beverages here at the Lobo Theater. That's how we are able to meet here for free, and appreciate you helping us out with that. Okay, some quick thoughts. We're not going to have a big business portion of the meeting like we normally do, but we want to offer some quick thoughts. With all of the craziness with Charlie Kirk and rumors going around about the left, I just want to point out that Indivisible Albuquerque does not tolerate violence of any kind against anyone at any time. That is not who we are, and that is not what we do. We are going to keep on with our meetings, with our protests, with our rallies, and our marches, since that is our First Amendment right, and they will always be done in a peaceful way. We will always take our necessary precautions, like having peacekeepers, medics, all of that at our big events. But again, we can never guarantee safety in all cases because we can't control everything. We have invited a conversation with Amy Barella, who's the Republican Party chair in New Mexico, for a conversation, and she has been in touch, and we are planning that meeting. So we'll be in touch with you about what goes on, and I'm very happy to say Democratic Party chair Sarah Adelson will be joining me when we do that. So we'll do that together. So just a few quick announcements there. Another announcement, let's see, we're going to skip the first part. The No King's Day 2 event is a march only. So those of you that have been thinking about that, just know that it is a march only. It is not going to be a rally. There will be no speakers. We are just going to take over the streets of downtown Albuquerque. So we need all of you there to line up on Central and help us take over downtown and make our voices heard. All right, we're going to start off tonight with Albuquerque Public School Board District 3 candidate Danielle Gonzalez, and you can use that mic or take this one, whatever works for you, and then we'll get on with our candidate forum.
Thank you, Ray Allen. I am Danielle Gonzalez. I am currently serving as the District 3 representative on the Albuquerque Public Schools Board of Education, also as the president of the Board of Education, and as Ray Allen mentioned, up for re-election this year. Early voting starts October 7th. The election is November 4th. I wanted to take a little bit of time to talk a little bit about myself, my record, and my vision for what comes next. So if we can go ahead and move on to the next slide. That would be great. So I grew up here in Albuquerque, and I was fortunate to be able to attend all Albuquerque public schools. I went to Cochiti, Chaparral, John Adams, and graduated from Valley High School. Go Vikings. Very, very fortunate also to be able to move on from my APS experience and go into a 4-year college. So I left Albuquerque right after I finished high school, and I moved to Washington, D.C., where I attended George Washington University. During that, yay for GW. During that time, I was able to work in a variety of different capacities in DC. So I held internships at the Democratic National Committee, at the U.S. Department of Education, on political campaigns with the Democratic Party, and learned a whole lot about politics and about DC, and realized that maybe DC is not the best place to change the world. And so I decided to leave DC briefly and to become a teacher. So I went back to school, got my graduate degree from Notre Dame. Go Irish. I did see another fellow Irish in here. And became a teacher. My work at the U.S. Department of Education had been in the White House Initiative on Educational Excellence for Hispanic Americans, which unfortunately no longer exists under the current administration. But I decided I wanted to really work to improve education for Latino kids, so I moved to the U.S.-Mexico border, and I taught 4th grade down there. I realized then that I still wasn't feeling like I was making enough of a difference, so I moved back to DC and stayed there for another 21 years, where I worked in a variety of different capacities, primarily in education policy, education leadership, worked for the Pew Charitable Trust, for the Gates Foundation, the Aspen Institute, and when the pandemic hit, I decided to move home to my hometown of Albuquerque with my family. Some of the work that I've had an opportunity to do has focused on a variety of different topics within education, leadership, but a lot of what I was doing in the context of moving back was working directly with urban district leaders. So I was working with superintendents, chief academic officers, and chief operations officers from districts all over the country when the pandemic hit. And so I was learning from, working with, and advising superintendents in places like Baltimore, Indianapolis, Denver, Dallas, and then I moved home to Albuquerque, and I saw that a lot of what I was doing with these other districts just wasn't being done here in Albuquerque. I've spoken to this group before, and I've spoken also a little bit about my experience with my own kids. So I do have 4 kids who are all currently in our schools right now. They are 9, 12, 15, and 16. And in the context of that move, my kids were not getting grade level academics from APS, and I was concerned about that, so I decided it was time for me to throw my hat in and run in 2021. What I felt that I could bring to the district at that time, and what I think I can still contribute, one is my both lived experience, having grown up here in Albuquerque, and left to go learn policy and leadership and educational equity and bring that back. So that combination of lived experience and policy expertise. The second, I believe, is using that expertise to help drive APS towards more of a focus and a shift on what matters most, and that is student outcomes. So learning from best practice from districts all across the country, actually applying that here in Albuquerque. And the third is working to make sure that we are representing voices, and not just the loudest voices or the people with power or the people who are used to being heard, but really truly listening to students, families, and those furthest from opportunity. We could do the next slide. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the results so far. I am very proud to say that when I came on board, we worked very hard to put in place a strategic plan for APS. APS did not have a plan before our board leadership. There were no goals. There was no way to track publicly how our students were performing. Now we have 4 goals, and I am happy to say that APS is actually on track for meeting all of those goals. That's where you applaud. So we changed the board's whole focus to focus on student outcomes. We changed our governance model. We added consent agendas. We started tracking how much time we're spending in our meeting and really trying to shift the way we do business, realigning our budget to those priorities of our goals as well. We also, in that time, in that process, hired a new superintendent. So we had a former superintendent in place who didn't share that same commitment to student outcomes. He's gone. We got a new one who is entirely on board, so much so that her evaluation is actually based entirely on meeting the district's goals. And then also, I spent my first 2 years on the board chairing our policy committee, where I did a ton of work on policy. A lot of it flew under the radar, and that was intentional, but really worked to strengthen our policies to support LGBTQIA students, partnered a lot with GLSEN and TGRC New Mexico Transgender Resource Center to collaborate on policies that would support those students, adopted and improved gender support plans. So now we're in a place where there's noise around what's going to happen with our LGBTQ kids, but because of the work I led and what we did 2 years ago, our kids are safe. We also worked, thank you, to pass a policy on book banning, but it's essentially our policy on controversial subjects. I wrote a policy that basically says if you want to challenge a book in an APS schools, you can only do it if you're a parent of a student in that school where you're challenging the book. So you can't come from out of state or even not in the school district and challenge a book. If you do that, then there's a process. And the process requires a committee to review the challenge. The committee needs to be made up of students, educators, librarians, and experts in children's literacy to determine whether the book should be challenged. So it's very hard for those kind of right-wing nuts to challenge books here in APS because of that policy that we put in place 2 years ago. And then also really focused on culturally and linguistically responsive approaches to education. This is what our community told us matters. So we also passed a policy that says APS is required to provide an instruction that is grounded in culturally and linguistically responsive approaches. The district is not allowed to not do CLR. And that's because that's what our community told us, that's what our students told us. So those are just a few examples of some of the things that I've been able to accomplish in the first 3 years and 9 months, I suppose. So we can go on to the next slide. To which is when I think I'm talking about what comes next. Oh, I wanted to talk about some misinformation. So I am actively campaigning, actively out knocking doors every day, and I do hear a lot of misinformation. And so I wanted to just touch briefly with, how much time do I have? 3 minutes about some of the misinformation I'm hearing. One thing is that the APS board has been over-testing our kids, that all our kids do now is take standardized tests. That's not true. We haven't added tests, we've removed tests. Now we're actually using the data. The second thing is around right sizing. I've heard a couple of things that are misinformation. One, that I singularly all by myself closed a school, which is actually not how democracy or government works. But also that we have closed schools and that we've closed schools without community input, which is actually also not accurate. We haven't closed any buildings. In fact, we've repurposed all of our buildings. They are all full of students now and vibrant and doing amazing work for our community, including expanding by providing an international and refugee school, which we did not have before to serve our international and refugee students, and expanding dual language pathways. I'm hearing rumors that there's going to be a push for privatization and school vouchers, which is also not true because we don't even have vouchers in the state of New Mexico, so how could the school board do it? That's also not true. I've heard concerns about democracy and decision-making on the board. We put in governance policies which were modeled off of the New Mexico School Boards Association and best practice for school governance. So those are in place now to govern how we engage and actually to improve process. And so that's been a really strong thing. And then I'll end with just this point of accountability from top down. A lot of times in education reform, the accountability starts at the bottom level where we say, let's not promote kids if they're not able to read, or let's fire teachers if they can't teach, or let's fire principals if they can't turn around a school. But I believe rather than having that accountability start with students, teachers, and principals, it needs to start at the very top with the school board. And so that's what this is about. This is our board holding ourselves accountable, our board acting like adults, our board taking responsibility for our own words, our own behaviors, our own votes, and our own action. And that's some of the work that I would like to continue and look forward to engaging with you all more.
Thank you, Danielle Gonzalez. Okay, we're going to get on with our candidate forum now. So I know that might be a little hard for you guys to read, but I did put my laptop down here so you would see what they're seeing without having to turn your head back every time. So you might have to squint. Sorry about that. Okay, so if we could go to the forum rules for candidates. First of all, we'd like to ask you to please turn off your phones. If you've got your notes on there, keep your notes up, but turn off your cellular functions. This is about you as a candidate, not what your campaign manager is going to push to you during this debate. So we'd like to hear from you, if you don't mind doing that. We're going to give you 3 minutes for an opening statement and 2 minutes for a closing statement. The questions, we have about 8 questions, and you will either have 1 or 2 minutes to respond, and I'll tell you what that's going to be. We're going to follow this order, but we'll always start in a different place. So we'll start with you, Mr. Griego, the next question. We'll start with Danny, the next question, you see, and it will just keep in that order, but starting in a different place. The questions were submitted by members of Indivisible Albuquerque, edited by me for clarity, and then approved by the Indivisible Albuquerque board. We will not have time for audience questions. We've been asking for questions for some time, so hopefully you got your questions in if you have one to ask the candidates. So let me just say, District 1, City Council is over on the west side. Is that correct? And does somebody want to give me rough boundaries?
It's on the central.
Coors, Central, Paseo del Norte. So west side. A lot of stuff going on over there. Every time I drive over there, there's some new construction, something happening there. It feels that way in my area of Old Town also. Okay, so, yes. Timekeeper. Yes, so these are the signs Willie will hold up when you have 30 seconds left, 15 seconds left, and he has a giant stop sign. So we'll hold you to that. Okay, any questions about the rules? The one thing that I forgot to put up there is that we are recording this on Zoom, and we would like to distribute that after the forum through our website. Is that okay with you? Okay? Okay? No?
Yes.
Okay. All right, just checking. Just want to make sure. We won't do it without your permission. Mr. Neal gave us late notice that he is ill with a stomach bug, so he will not be with us tonight. Okay, but Mr. Griego, you can start with your opening statement, and we'll start you at 3 minutes.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Albuquerque Indivisible. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be here with you tonight. My name is Aaron Griego, and I'm running for Albuquerque City Council in District Number 1, Albuquerque's West Side. A little bit about me. I have roots in that community. That's where I was born and raised. I went to the Albuquerque Public Schools in that district. I'm proud to say that. I'm a product of Albuquerque, of APS. I went to Via Vista. I went to John Adams, and I graduated from West Mesa. After I graduated from West Mesa, I met my wife, and we've been married. Actually, in high school, I met my wife, and we've been married for 36 years. I've raised. Thank you. We've raised 3 children, and our children live in District Number 1 as well. Some challenges that our children are facing. 2 of my adult children, guess what? They are priced out of the housing market, and they live at home still. And that's the crisis that Albuquerque is facing, and it's going to have a negative impact on our ability to be able to draw jobs and professionals into Albuquerque and stay in the community and provide the professionalism that those people in those professions can provide. My first job was in the district. When I was in high school, at 15 years old, I got a work permit from West Mesa High School, and I worked at Safeway Grocery Store in the Ladera Shopping Center, a community grocery store. Guess what? It's gone. The community grocery stores are leaving our community, and they provide a great opportunity for our youth to get jobs. At 15 years old, I didn't have a driver's license, so I would use my skateboard, and I would use the city bus to get to work. In the evenings, my mother would pick me up, and she would bring me home. My mother is an immigrant. She's from post-World War II Europe, and my mother was of that generation, that first generation of women that had to leave the household for economic opportunity. And she had a tremendous work ethic, and that work ethic is something that rubbed off on me. I retired from the fire department over 10 years ago, 24 years in the fire service. I worked my way through the rank of captain. For 9 of those 10 years, I've been working with a local nonprofit on the west side that I co-founded, supporting our youth, trying to give them positive pathways to beat the streets. give them inspiration and give them motivation to be able to set goals and work with professional people and adults to stay on track. Something else about me is that I'm proud to say that I've been endorsed by 9 unions. I've been a union member since my first job working at a Safeway grocery store in UFCW. Retired firefighter, International Association of Firefighters. I currently hold 2 union cards with the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, as well as with Film and Television Labor Union Workers, IATSE Local 480. And again, my name is Aaron Grego, and I thank you for your time.
Okay, is this working? My fault, guys, my fault. Is that going to happen every time?
No, it shouldn't happen every time, but there's no guarantee.
Okay. All right, let's try again. Hi, so my name is Daniel Gilbert-Leyva, and I was born and raised here in Albuquerque. I graduated from UNM, from the Anderson School of Business, and then recently in May, I just graduated from UNM again, the School of Law. Oh, I thought it was going to happen. So currently, I'm a small business owner. I employ a team of young people. I used to work at the city's economic development department for half a century. And then, prior to that, it was little jobs here and there. But, and if I don't look old, it's because I'm 29 years old. And so here's the thing. One of the reasons why I'm running, one of the problems that I see within our, we haven't even gotten there yet. There are a couple more things that I want to tell you guys about myself. One, I'm the son of immigrants. Both of my parents were immigrants. I'm a first-generation American. 2, I'm also the son of educators. Both of my parents were teachers. And they're still in education, just not in the classroom right now. So that should tell you a little bit about my background and kind of what my values are, right? Hard work, dedication, service to others. And that's part of why I'm running. The simple truth is, because I'm an Albuquerque native, I was raised to be the leader that the West Side needs, right? I also went to Valle Vista Elementary, but I'm also a product of public education. As you guys heard, my higher education is here in Albuquerque. And for me, one of the biggest problems that we're facing in our city is that our youth are leaving. I know this firsthand. When I went to my undergrad, quite a few of my classmates no longer live here. I see them on Snapchat, Instagram, Be Real, and they're all living anywhere else but here. I've just graduated law school, and I would say about half of my graduating class is leaving. And to me, it's really important that we build a city where people, especially our youth, but everybody wants to live here, right? My vision for Albuquerque is an Albuquerque that we can all be proud of. An Albuquerque where we can all work, live, and play, and be happy to be here. So my name is Daniel Gilbert-Leyva, and I'm running for District 1 on the West Side.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Stephanie Thez. I am a mom. I am a caregiver. I am a small business owner, and I am an educator. My husband and I bought our home on the west side so that we could start our family. I'm a proud member of the sandwich generation. And that means I take care of my 5-year-old daughter, and I also care for my mom, who lives with Lewy body dementia and overlapping Alzheimer's. So I know what it's like to juggle a lot of things all the time. Right, I form a lot of my opinions on the world based off of my lived experience and my conversations that I have with my community members. And one of the things is I don't have a grandma for my daughter that I can drop off, or she can go pick up my daughter for me if I'm running late for school or whatever it might be, right? And there's a lot of people out there who don't have that type of support. But what I do have is my community. And I have a community of moms, and we work together, and we support each other. And I have a community of small business owners where we rely on each other to figure out what's going to happen and how we can collaborate so that we can all thrive and work together. I have a community of college university professors that I work with in my role as a professor at the University of New Mexico. I graduated from Anderson, and I started my career as an accountant in public accounting. Then I became a certified fraud examiner. And my whole career has been dedicated to rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse in governments, in nonprofits, and in public companies. I currently own my own business where I do that for a living. And now I go into organizations and I say, hey, let's do some risk assessments. Let's see where we can find you some money and save you some money. I'm a budget expert. That's what I do. I look at budgets every day and I try to figure out how we can better utilize the funds that we have in more effective, efficient ways. And that's what I can do with the city of Albuquerque. Not only can I do that with the city of Albuquerque, but I have done that with the city of Albuquerque. I've done that with all 189 municipalities throughout the state during my time as the director of the Government Accountability Office for the state auditor. I've worked with 189 municipalities on their budgets. I've worked with 89 counties. I've worked with state agencies all the way to local governments. And that's the kind of experience that I can bring. I can bring lived experience as a mom, and I can bring my professional experience to the City Council. My name is Stephanie Thayes. I'm running for City Council District 1. Thank you so much.
Okay, so let's get to our first question. Last week, President Trump announced he's sending the National Guard to Memphis. This is very unlike the National Guard. Can't hear me. Can you hear this? No? Okay. Last week, President Trump announced he's sending the National Guard to Memphis. Can you hear this?
Check, check.
Right on your chin. Oops, this one's... Okay, I'm going to read from over here. One more time. Last week, President Trump announced he's sending the National Guard to Memphis. This is very unlike the National Guard that is already in our city. Do you or do you not support the armed National Guard troops in Albuquerque, and how should APD interact with them? We'll give you 1 minute each. Does that one work?
Is this working yet? No. Hello? Check.
Does this one work? He and I can share this one.
Okay, well, let me see here. So this is a public safety question, right? As a firefighter and a captain in the fire department, anytime that we had an opportunity to collaborate with agencies that were conducting operations within the communities or the neighborhoods that we were stationed at, we appreciated it. It gave us an opportunity to have information as to where it is that we may be responding and some of the resources that we need in order to give a proper response. So do I support the National Guard in Albuquerque? Albuquerque is facing a public safety crisis, and our police officers are stretched too thin. Our police officers are working shift work, and they have to take into account their schedules, which may not provide opportunities for protection throughout the city. Quite often, when I was in the fire department, we would see police staffing down to 1 or 2 police officers for the part of the west side, and that's unacceptable. So I support ideas that can help strengthen our public safety, as long as we have a good working relationship with the operations that are intended to keep our community safe.
Thank you.
Hey, if we're all standing, I'll stand too. The short answer to this question is no, I do not support it. I do not support more policing in our neighborhood, whether that's going to be the National Guard, whether that's going to be ICE. We do not need more officers or more people coming into our city to tell us what to do and to keep us safe, if that's even the pretense that they're going with. We can take care of ourselves. And how should APD interact with them? Not at all. APD should not be helping with these efforts at all.
I agree with Daniel. No, we should not be having any sort of ICE or CPB or anything like that patrolling our streets. I believe that Albuquerque should remain immigrant-friendly city. Sanctuary policies are intended to, limit resources being circumvented by the federal government. And the fact is, it is scary right now. In fact, just last week on Wednesday, the principal of my child's school called me because the pre-K teacher at the school, her father-in-law was being arrested by HSI. So I went to their house. I watched as HSI raided their house. They broke down the door at 4:30 in the morning. They said, no, this is not an immigration issue. It is a criminal issue. And so I worry now that they are trying to circumvent our sanctuary city policies by utilizing criminal statutes under the immigration law to get through that. So no, I do not support that, and I will support and fight for every immigrant in our city and make sure that everybody is protected and safe.
Okay, we're going to test this one again. Is this one working now? Awesome. All right, we're going to start this question with you, Mr. Leyva. We all know we're experiencing a severe housing shortage in all price ranges. Many in the community feel that we should not be giving tax incentives to developers, but instead institute rent controls and support workers. Explain your position on both those points and your solution to solving the housing crisis in Albuquerque. And since this is so important, we're going to give you 2 minutes.
Okay, guys, for me, the solution is very simple. We need houses. We should build houses. Now, there's a little bit more nuance to that, but my number one thing is that we need to increase the supply of housing. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean just starting to build mega apartment complexes. That doesn't necessarily mean we're just going to start building houses left and right. So some of the things that I would love to work on is a little bit of amendments to our IDO, right? There's lots of different types of housing that we can provide. I can tell you that my brother, who's 24 and also just graduated UNM, he doesn't need a giant family home to live in. And it's not like he can afford one either. We should have more styles of housing, like a dorm-style micro-apartments, casitas, duplexes, whatever it is that we need to have to increase that supply of housing so that there's housing for everybody at all price ranges. Then the other thing is when we start to get to some of those lower price ranges, the city should step in to have housing programs, have some sort of way to incentivize getting the people into the homes that they need. Now, here's my thing about rent control, because it was mentioned in the question. That's actually controlled at the statewide level. So if you're asking me, what am I gonna do as your city councilor? I'm gonna help advocate to the state for the changes that we wanna see. Because that's just how it is, right? That's kind of the goal, right? Is to represent the people and to help advocate where I need to advocate to make sure to get the changes that we need to get the people in the housing that they need.
I believe that affordable housing in Albuquerque is a core responsibility of the City Council because I believe that housing must be treated as a public good. And one of the reasons we already have the pathway to a few solutions with the city that are not currently being utilized. For example, the city owns a lot of land in Albuquerque. Much of that land is in residential neighborhoods that are already zoned for housing. What happens is the city can subsidize affordable housing. So I live in a neighborhood. When I bought my house, when my husband and I bought our house, it was $170,000. Today, it is averaging at about $380,000. My home is not worth $380,000. I promise you that, okay? If we tried to buy the same home in the same neighborhood today, we would not qualify. But what the city of Albuquerque can do with the property that they already own, there is programs through HUD. Now, there are grant programs, pass-through funds that can come through to the city of Albuquerque to allow Albuquerque to act as a bank. So individuals like me, right, teachers, public health officials, first responders, folks who are contributing to our community can then apply for a mortgage through their bank, go through the whole process. The city of Albuquerque is required to build these homes so that they match the neighborhood. So you don't have to worry about property values going down. You don't have to worry about homes not matching the style of the area. And then they subsidize those housing prices to allow people to then move into a $380,000 home for $170,000. So that working families like me, can then afford to live in these neighborhoods. We also have casitas already available that we can use, and I know my time's up, but I want to add, the city of Albuquerque has casita plans that have already been approved through housing and zoning. We can go use those plans for free and build these casitas without having to go through the zoning processes. And more people need to know about that and take advantage of that. Thank you.
So the housing crisis, it's a supply and demand issue, right? We just do not have enough supply, and that keeps driving the prices of the homes up. So as a city councilor, I would continue to support the investment into housing, working alongside with the state, which is also investing in Albuquerque, along with the county, which is also investing in housing in Albuquerque. And I think we need to increase density along those lines where we have public transit, where we can use transit to get people into workable units and workable parts of the city for their jobs, as well as places where they can use alternative means of transportation, including bikes or maybe even a skateboard. Who knows? Yeah, absolutely. The other issue that we have with housing is the city has invested like over $27 million in a Housing First program. That's an investment that we know is working, and we need to continue with those type of investments to ensure that we can help build out those homes that also provide jobs in the construction industry, so those people can start building their ways into the homes as well. And it's critical that we use that as an investment opportunity, not as just as a way to sit there and say that we checked off a box on the political agenda there. So anything that we can do to support housing is going to be an absolute positive with it, because a housed community is a safe community. Our kids have to have a place where they can live safely with their mothers and their fathers, and also support the ADUs. The ADUs is a way to increase density, which is the casita development. But we have to do it in a way that respects the community as well. I myself, as an older person, as the older person on this stage over here, I often see myself living in a casita, me and my wife, along with my kids. It's a great way to support generations of housing, starting with young families and eventually completing with the senior citizens that are part of that same family. Keeping the family together in a housed community is a safe community. And as far as rent control, it is a healthy debate that needs to happen at the state level, and it has to take into consideration all the pros and cons of the housing industry across the United States. And that's something that we all need to pay close attention to, and then lean on what's going to be best for our community. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to, we will start with you, Ms. Tejas. And the question is, pedestrian fatalities in Albuquerque are among the highest in the country. What is your commitment to reducing them in your district if you are elected?
Yeah, it really is unfortunate that this is happening. And actually, during my time with the state auditor's office, one of the things that kept coming to my desk over and over and over again was this issue of roads that we drive in Albuquerque. We know where the problem areas are in particular. And there are some poor designs in these roads and how people can see, how fast folks are going, and how we can ensure safety. I would love to take my daughter on a bike ride. right, as much as possibly, but it is terrifying. Coors Road is a state road, so they would have to do it, but we can certainly invest in a lot more risk-reducing things, such as more speed humps, narrowing driving roads, and widening bike lanes and walking lanes. There's a lot of research out there that talks about 15-minute cities, and we can certainly invest in that in our own city. And that is something that I'm very committed to doing. Thank you.
So this is an enforcement question to me, being someone who's worked at public safety, and I've responded to several pedestrian accidents and unfortunately fatalities. But again, it goes back to the resources. Do we have enough police officers doing the job? We have to invest in recruitment and retention of our local police officers and hold them accountable for enforcing traffic violations whenever they see them. It's the only way that I believe that we can have better drivers in this community. Too often the drivers see that they can get away with doing a quick non-stop at a stop sign or not yielding at an intersection, but there's police officers that are in the area that they can hold those people accountable and remind them that the laws are for the public safety. We also need to do a healthy investment in crime-fighting technology like speed cameras and noise reduction cameras, and I'm proud to say that on the west side, there's going to soon be another speed camera placed in near Coors and St. Joseph's, where we have a tremendous amount of just speeding, especially at 2, 3, 4 in the morning, that disrupts families in the middle of the night.
So to me, this is a little bit of both. So I unfortunately got to see the guy who got off the freeway onto Unser and then took out the oh man, what do you call them in English? The lights, the green, red, yellow lights. What do they call it in English? Stoplight. Thank you. Sorry. I saw the car. Right, he came off of the freeway, got into Unser, took out the stoplight, and it's just that some people don't care, I guess. I don't even know what to say. But what it is we got to change driver habits. And so it is going to be a little bit of, as mentioned, the infrastructure. And then because there's a lot of state road out there, that's going to involve, again, getting with the state. And then it is going to be a little bit of enforcement, right? The speed cameras, so that we can start getting drivers to change their habits. Because there is a ton of speeding in that area, and it is, quite honestly, just dangerous at all times of the day.
Okay, we're going to change things up a little bit. So I'm going to ask each of you a question, an individual question. You will answer it. It's a personalized question based upon public information that you've shared on your website or in other places. You'll have 2 minutes to answer the question, and then we're going to have the fun part. You get to ask a question of one of your fellow candidates up here about their answer. So each of you will answer a question, and then you'll get to ask a question of someone else here on the stage. And I believe we start with Mr. Griego again. You indicate that you want to, let me see if I think I have this on this slide. There we go. You indicate you want to recruit and train more APD officers. But recruitment has been a big problem, and what are you going to do differently?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So, again, this just all goes back to my lens, my lived experience as a first responder. And for years, I saw the fire department meeting recruitment goals, but wasn't the same in the fire department. And so, what is it that needs to change? What I believe needs to change is we need to start recruiting police officers in high school. We need to make sure that we have police officers that are in the high schools that are in a positive, non-threatening engagement with the kids, being there to answer questions, to get those kids motivated and inspired to want to embrace public safety, to want to embrace civil service, to want to be a part of a community that they believe in. And when I got hired in 1992 in the fire department, our police chief was from Colorado. And he thought it would be a good idea to start recruiting firefighters. I'm sorry, our fire chief was from Colorado. And he thought it would be a good idea to start recruiting firefighters from out of state. Well, guess what? Throughout my 24 years as a firefighter, very few of those people stayed in Albuquerque. They don't have roots. in our community. We need to make sure that we invest in the schools at a very young age where our young people can understand what it means to be a public servant, to be a part of the solution, not to be a part of the problem. And I think beginning with police officers, we can expand that to public safety officials, people that maybe want to work in social work with the Albuquerque Community Safety, people that want to be EMTs, maybe start investing in other trades so that we have a constant positive reinforcement, non-threatening interaction with our children at the high school level. And you know what? If we can show that it works at high school, maybe we can make it even, expand it even into the middle schools. Because I remember being a kid and always playing in the elementary school with those opportunities where I want to be the fireman, I want to be the policeman, or I want to be, the construction worker. Those are the things that I think our community has forgotten, and it's I believe, the best way to combat the negative stereotype of the music where people are growing up, kids are growing up wanting to be maybe gangbangers or what have you not. So we need to invest in a public safety positive message.
Oops, yep, okay, let's see. Mr. Leyva, your website mentions delivering the resources and amenities the West Side needs to thrive. I personally felt that lacked a little detail, and I thought maybe you could tell us where the money will come from and what are the resources and amenities you want to include.
Thank you. Yes, I would love to answer this question because when I tell you guys the amenities that the West Side needs to thrive, I want to tell you in plain English what that means. I want to bring cool stuff to the West Side.
Cool stuff.
Cool stuff. And here's the thing, right? You ask anybody my age or ever so slightly below, which I'm looking around the room to see how many people are in that age group and just trying to make a little eye contact. A gentleman raised his hand over there. Thank you. Here's the thing. You ask them, hey, what are we going to go do tonight? And the answer is never, let's go do that fun new thing on the West Side. It's always, let's go to the other side of town. Let's cross the river and go do anything over somewhere else, which is fine. But the West Side has a lot of space to do stuff, and we can create the space to do stuff. Spaces like senior centers, community centers, well-lit parks is a good one, because we do have some really great parks on the West Side. But the two parks closest to my house are honestly a little bit of a danger. So it's simple things like that, cool stuff. And that's going to be what, if anybody's familiar with the term, a third space, right? And that's what I'm talking about, is that I want to have, I mentioned earlier, I want to have a city where you can work, live, and play. And so those amenities are going to be that play part. In terms of where the money's coming from, I have had the misfortune of having to go through the city's budget with a friend of mine who's getting his master's in public administration. And so we can see what the city's spending its money on, servicing our own debt and things of that nature. The city has money. The city has the resources for us to do the cool stuff that we want to do. It's all about making sure that we're allocating the resources where we want them.
Okay. Your website, and I think you talked a little bit about this, but this is a little bit deeper. Your website says you want to expand access to affordable housing. We know that groups like the Albuquerque Housing Authority has Section 8 vouchers available, but there's no property to rent. What is your plan to expand access? How would you do that?
Yeah, no, it's true. I actually have a friend in my neighborhood who has called me recently asking for help. She is disabled, and she is being evicted from her house, and she needs help. So we got her on the voucher program. It's an 8 to 16 week wait. Whatever, 8 to 16 is a pretty wide gap, right? Here's the thing. When my mom got sick, we moved her into my house. She lived with my husband and I for 3 years. And then we were going to build a casita, just like what Aaron mentioned, for my mom to live in our backyard. It is very expensive to build a casita. And then not a year later, the initiative came out about these pre-permitted, pre-approved casitas that are already with the city. There are 4 different levels of them that anybody can go download the plans, the architectural plans. They're already pre-approved for permitting. They're already pre-approved for zoning. Anybody can go do that, and then you can work with local contractors and local builders to build those casitas. Now, I know that's not for everybody, especially in a city like Albuquerque, where we are going to be 65 plus population, a third of us, 65 plus population. And so we need to make sure that we have access for elders and seniors, and safe access, right? And so making sure that we can really convert existing spaces into small apartments, which we can do. For example, the Crown Royal Hotel is an example of that. It is turnkey. We can buy that property and turn it into affordable housing apartments immediately. And so those are some of the examples that I think that we can do to expand access to affordable housing.
Okay, so we're going to go in this order. Ms. Tejas, you get to ask a question of anyone else here. You'll have 1 minute to ask the question, and Willie, I'm changing this up a bit. We're going to give them 2 minutes to answer.
Yes, so my question is for Mr. Griego. You mentioned wanting to invest in more recruitment and getting high schoolers recruited into police departments for public safety. How does recruiting high schoolers, understanding that their readiness and maturity may not be where it needs to be for this level of risk and responsibility of a job, how does it address root causes of crime and community safety concerns?
Thank you for the question. So any investment that we make in a youth is an investment in crime prevention, okay, first and foremost. The Albuquerque Fire Department and the Albuquerque Police Department and the military already recruit people into service starting right out of high school at 18 years old. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think Albuquerque Public Schools, they offer training for firefighters and EMTs as well as police officers in the CEC program. I think at one time that was housed at Albuquerque High School. And so it's a great way to invest in families, because now you have young children that are career oriented. You have young children that are professionally changing their mindset and to make those adult decisions to put career as a priority, and to make a career as a priority and put it as the next chapter of their life. So I think it's a model that works well. It's been proven for decades, especially with the military, and I'm glad to see that our local law enforcement, our National Guard, and our fire department are investing in those kids and keeping that tradition alive.
Mr. Leyva, who's your question for and what's your question? 1 minute for your question, 2 minutes for the response.
My question is for Ms. Tejas. So can you just clarify on those turnkey casitas that you mentioned? If I'm understanding correctly, so if my mom owns her own house on the west side, it's because everything is pre-approved, she just gets to go in and start construction immediately with those?
Yep. There's four different designs available, and that's exactly what you can do. You don't have to pay for an architect to come design it. There's 4 that are already designed. The city of Albuquerque worked with local architecture firm to do that. They worked with the planning division to make sure that every single design is already pre-approved for permitting, and all you got to do is just, go download one of the designs and let the city permitting office know this is what you're going to do, and then hire your builder to come do it. It's that easy.
You want a follow-up? Okay, question number 5. Safe outdoor spaces.
Oh, Raylan, I think Mr. Gray.
You got your question. I knew I was missing something. I do it every time. What's your question?
All right, what's my question? So my question is for Mr. Leyva. What is your strategy for improving public safety in Albuquerque?
Okay, cool. Yeah, so my strategy for improving public safety in Albuquerque is, here's the main thing, right? We have a great service in ACS. One of the biggest challenges that we all see.
What is ACS?
Albuquerque Community Safety. Sorry. Right, you have a call and you call ACS and they'll tell you, oh, you know what, that's an issue for APD. So you'll call APD, Albuquerque Police Department, and they'll tell you, nope, you know what, that's an ACS issue. To me, the solution to that, to help get our call response times down, because we also know that that's a big issue, is by having a unified 911 system. What that means is that there's one number that you call, and the person who answers that call has both the technology and the training to be able to triage your call and decide if they're going to send out an ACS team, if they're going to send out a police service aide, if they're going to send out an armed officer, or if they need to send out fire and rescue. One, that makes it so that we get rid of that issue of, well, who do I call? And is 311 closed right now? Do I need to call 242 cops? Is it late enough at night for that? And then by making sure that we're diverting the correct resources to the correct calls, that's how we're going to free up some of our officers to work on the things that we want them to work on, and that's how we're going to get our call response times down.
Okay. All right. Question number 5. We're going to try this again. Safe Outdoor Spaces is a city initiative for sanctioned, secure, and supervised areas designed for the unhoused to live outdoors temporarily, offering basic amenities and a pathway to permanent housing. Should the city set up more safe spaces? And if so, where in your district would you put them? Be specific. And we're going to start with Mr. Leyva.
Okay, give me a second to think about the district. It's a big one. Okay, so here's the thing. If we're talking about safe outdoor spaces, I'm in favor of it. We need to, ultimately, my thoughts on helping our unhoused neighbors is housing them, which again, you guys heard me talk about housing and increasing the supply of housing. One of the reasons we need to do that is because I'm a big fan of housing first policies, and that's how we're going to help our unhoused neighbors. So, but I do recognize that that takes time. New houses aren't just going to appear out of nowhere. So yes, I do like safe outdoor spaces as we work to get folks the services that they need, right? The other thing is what that allows us to do is to make sure that the services that we're providing for our unhoused neighbors, if we know where they are, that means we can send the services to them, which for me makes a big difference, right? As long as we keep pushing ways for people to get help, ultimately we'll be able to help more people.
Yeah, I agree. I do support the Safe Outdoor Spaces initiative. I think one of the really critical pieces of this initiative is that we tend to create initiatives for our unhoused community members without talking to our unhoused community members. And so there are a lot of folks out there who are facing homelessness for various reasons, and some of them may not want to get off of the streets. Some of them have various reasons. I think some of the places on the west side that we should consider, should be closer to the metro area and not pushed out way to the far West Mesa. We need them close to public transit so we can help them get to, areas so they can get amenities. But we really also need to address the issues of, making sure we're talking to them and understanding where do you think are the safest spaces for you in our neighborhoods, and how can we help accommodate you so that you can say, yes, I do want this help.
All right, so the homeless population, drug addiction, mental health crisis, The people that you see on those streets and those intersections, I served those people for 24 years as Albuquerque firefighter and a first responder. I've been retired 10 years, and the problem has only gotten worse. And the reason the problem has gotten worse is because New Mexico is a rural state. And the rural parts of our state don't have the resources that our city has. So those people, some way, somehow, make it to Albuquerque, hoping that they're going to get the treatment that they need and available resources. But in order to house them in safe spaces, you have to involve the community. You have to involve the neighborhood early on, because if not, you're going to get pushback, and you're not going to be able to accomplish anything but create more red tape. So as long as we can engage the community early on in the process, and we work specifically with those nonprofits and those groups that specialize in treating the homeless people, drug addiction, and people with mental health crisis, and they do it with compassion because they have experience to do so, then I believe that we can find solutions to be able to help them. As far as the resources on the west side, right now we have to make sure that we can fill the Gateway Center that's on the other part of town and get people into that facility, because it's housing with protection from the elements. And then, of course, we already have the West Side Shelter on the far west side where those other people are taking advantage of that facility. And again, it's out of the elements. It has medical care, it has beds, treatments, and it has sanitary conditions, showers, and bathrooms. So those are the kind of programs that we need to continue to support until the state decides to get their until the state can get their homeless response, which is a regional response, up and running. Thank you.
Okay, question 6, and we'll start this with you, Stephanie. Being a sanctuary city seems to come with some downsides, like having $11.5 million for the rail trail, which was recently canceled by the Department of Transportation. If elected, will you support the sanctuary city status to protect our immigrant communities given the potential funding losses? And Willie, we're going to give people 3 minutes to talk about this.
So my answer is unequivocally, without question, yes. I support our sanctuary city policies in Albuquerque because I support our immigration community. And I think when it comes to losing funds for the $11.5 million from the rail trail, here's the thing. Albuquerque has money. And oftentimes, we lose it, whether it's to unintentional waste, right? Totally not malicious, just an issue of not really understanding certain vendor policies or procurement policies, and so we're, unintentionally losing funds, right? From agents, from departments all over the city. So I would invest in training our agencies and our fiscal departments in every single one so that we can save that money, right? That goes into that pot that we get taken away. Another thing is there's a lot of abuse going on, and now that might be intentional, right? But I know how to root out fraud, waste, and abuse. It's what I do for a living. It's what I do for other organizations. And so I know how to look for those red flags. And if we can root out that waste, fraud, and abuse, then we have more money to utilize. So we might be losing 11.5 from the federal government right now, but we have options where we can recoup our own money to put towards that. Now, it might not be 11.5 million, right? But it's something. And the fact that the DOT, took that money from us, it's not going to be a permanent thing, hopefully, right? Hopefully, that's what we're working toward, right? And that's what we're going to do during these midterm elections as well. But I would never sacrifice a person, right? People are not a mere means for somebody else's outcomes. And that includes our immigration communities, and that includes these type of financial outcomes. People are worth more than $11.5 million.
So Albuquerque is an immigrant-friendly city, and I will continue to support that status. Like I stated earlier, my mother was an immigrant. She was a naturalized citizen. And so, of course, I support policies that are going to keep families together. I don't think there's any benefit to our community if once we start disrupting families And we have kids that are in schools, we have parents that are going to work, and all we're going to do is we disrupt that is we're going to create family trauma, and we're going to further burden the local resources. I believe that we should have pathways that we can support immigrants to get to become citizens, and we should support them in finding ways to legalize work so that they can stay here in the United States and can continue to provide benefit to our community and to continue to be a valued part of our community. And as far as local law enforcement goes, in regards to immigration, our local law enforcement should focus on community safety, not on federal immigration enforcement, and that's a policy that I'll stand by. We need to make sure that we need to make sure that our police officers are building trust between residents and keeping our neighborhoods safe for all residents. And of course, I support the resources that it's going to take in order to make sure that we have a clear and defined mission when it comes to identifying where it is that Albuquerque stands in these issues. Now, as far as losing $11 million to the DOT, I believe what the narrative was, is that it was a transportation issue. It wasn't an immigrant issue. It may be used as an immigrant issue, but basically, since that rail trail did not involve motor vehicles, that funding was pulled. But I believe the city also has a working record of challenging lawsuits that are pulled from Washington, D.C., against Washington, D.C. when those funds are pulled. And this is going to be yet another example of wasted time, resources, and energy going to court and fighting to get those funds, but I'm confident that the city will get them back. Until then, I'm also looking forward to state resources or state elected officials helping to contribute to the completion of this project, because I think it's critical that we have that alternate means of transportation in the downtown, Old Town area with that rail trail for people that bike, run, and jog and walk. Thank you.
So the question is, will I support sanctuary city status to protect our immigrant community? The short answer is yes. I want to take a moment to just explain to you guys why this specific question is so important to me. Both of my parents were immigrants. My grandparents were immigrants. When we talk about the separation of families, to me, we're not talking about other people's families in the abstract. We are literally talking about me and my mom. We are literally talking about me and my dad. There is nothing as important to me as my parents. And if I have the chance to support something like a sanctuary city, fight for that protection, then I absolutely will. Because not only am I part of the immigrant community, and that's my family, and I think that the immigrant community is very valuable, both here in Albuquerque and across the nation. But I want you guys to know that I am literally fighting for me and my parents. The other thing is that my aunt, my mom's sister, she's an immigration attorney. She was also an immigrant, and she's my hero, and that's why I went to law school, because prior to this, I was also going to do immigration. My passion is unaccompanied minors. It is a tragedy to me that we are allowing children under the age of 10 to go to immigration court by themselves. I literally watched a judge ask a 4-year-old Cuban girl, "Do you understand why you're here today?" And in my head, I was thinking, it doesn't matter what her answer is, she's 4. So yes, when we talk about sanctuary cities, when we talk about immigration, I just want you all to know that we're talking about me and my family and my friends, and that's what makes it important to me.
Okay. Question 7. District 6 Councilor Rogers started a pilot project to allocate $1.5 million of her set-aside funds to allow the community to participate in her budgeting process. This resulted in community-based needs being met. The community got to vote for that. She had a very detailed process. What do you think of this approach, participatory budgeting, and will you support it in your district? And let's see, I think it's your turn.
This is a transparency question. I think it's important that we engage the community early on in regards to any conversations that involve improvements within the community. Not only improvements, but things that may negatively impact the community, because sometimes you have those things as well. Again, working with the community for the past 10 years since I've been retired and working with a nonprofit, I do realize that the number one issue is public safety. Again, if we turn on the headlines, everything about Albuquerque, about New Mexico is public safety, public safety, public safety. But we can flip the narrative on that. And I appreciate what Councilor Nicole Rogers is doing on this, because in part of that, she's saying that our community may want to see a different narrative. I grew up in Albuquerque at a time where we were a community of winners. Some of you may remember the Unser family team. Some of you may remember the Gallus racing team. Some of you may remember Melchor Chavez, who had 3 world champions in mixed martial arts fightings. But every time we turned on the news, there was good news. So I think this is a good news opportunity. I think it's a transparency question, and it's something that I look forward to doing as a city councilor, is engaging my community, engaging them early, and make sure that all the stakeholders have a seat at the table. Thank you.
Yeah, I really love this. This is actually really cool. I guess the hard part is, getting everybody's input, but what's the point of being elected as a representative if you're not going to represent the voice of the people? So that's a motto that I'm going to stand by, and I think that doing something like this is a perfect example of representing the people who elected you. So if elected, yes, I would absolutely love to do something like this and keep it going and learn from Councilor Rogers.
Yeah, I mean, this is a 3, cherry question, right? We all agree that this is the best approach, is to make sure that our community is involved in our budgeting process. When I talk to my clients, one of the things I tell them all the time is I do not want to talk to anybody in your C-suite. I don't want to talk to anybody in your leadership team. I want to talk to your team members on the floor, because that is where I get the most valuable and useful information to help your organization thrive. And that is the same approach that I would take here with the city, right? These set-aside funds do not belong to me. They belong to you. This is your public dollars. We get into public service because it's to be of service to the public. It's not about self-service. So absolutely, I don't think that there is any better way to allocate these funds than to do it in a transparent way and an accountable way, and to make sure that we are collaborating so that we can address the needs of our community the best way. So yes, I really do appreciate this approach.
Thank you. I think that gives us all great comfort that maybe some of the special projects will be based upon what the community needs instead of special project people. Okay, closing statements. We're going to change this to 3 minutes, Willie, because we have a little extra time, and we start at the end with Ms. Tejas.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate Indivisible Albuquerque for putting this on. This has been a great forum. I think it's given everyone a chance to really listen to our unique perspectives and what we plan to bring to the City Council. I am proud to be your candidate for City Council District 1, and again, the reason I'm doing this, the reason I am so called to this level of service is because I get it. I feel the struggles, I feel the competing priorities, I understand the needs that our city families are going through, because I am one of those families that are going through this. Multi-generational home, right, with my daughter and my mom, and I'm very lucky because I have my brother and sister who are very helpful and involved as well. And so it's very wonderful to have support. But another reason I'm very lucky is because of my community and the people that live where I live and the people that help where we need help. I can tell you at a drop of a hat, I can call any number one of my mom friends from the school, or any of my roller derby friends, right? Because I did used to play roller derby for the city. So I am not afraid to get down and dirty if I have to, on skates and backwards too. So, I can call on, university professors, I can call on experts, because I have built this community of folks that I know I can rely on, and I want them all to know that they can rely on me as well. And so that is why I'm running for city council, and that is what I want to do, because again, this is about public service. Bottom line, our service to the public and our promises to really, really listen and take what you want and put it into practice at our city hall. We do have the resources. We can do everything that we want to do. We need somebody who is an expert in budgeting, who is an expert on budget statutes, both city ordinances as well as New Mexico statutes, and we need an expert at uncovering and rooting out where there's potential gaps where we can save our public dollars and utilize them in the most effective, efficient, and ethical ways possible. And so that is why I'm running for city council, and I am looking forward to representing everyone on District 1 at City Hall. My name is Stephanie Thez. Thank you so much. I look forward to your vote on November 4th or early October 18th. Thank you. Oh, that's okay, that's okay. It says, in your statement, please answer yes or no to, do you support changing the way local elections are run to use ranked choice voting format? My answer is yes. Absolutely. I am a big proponent of ranked choice voting. I was a big proponent of Burke Bucks when that tried to get passed. So yeah, I am a big proponent of ranked choice voting. It's working very well in Las Cruces, and I hope we can bring that to Albuquerque as well.
Thank you. My name is Aaron Grego, candidate for Albuquerque City Council. And I'm running for Albuquerque City Council because I want you guys to know that the narrative in Albuquerque is about public safety first and foremost, and that's what I bring to the table as a retired firefighter. We take a look at the crisis that are in the streets. I attended those meetings, town hall meetings with the city and the county on the opiate crisis. And I realized that there's a lot more services that could be had out there. We need to make sure that we work with those professional organizations and nonprofits that can meet those people at the streets, at the intersections. And I know the numbers are low. I think the sheriff said only 2% of those people are taking advantage of opportunities to get help. But it doesn't mean that we give up on them. Okay, it means that we continue to serve those people with compassion and make sure that our first responders, that they have the resources and the training to be able to meet the needs of the people that are on the streets. And like I stated before, we need to work hand in hand with the state so that we can set up a regional response to make sure that the people that come to Albuquerque, they can get treatment in their own communities that have the same level of treatment that they think they may find in Albuquerque. The bottom line is that when they're coming to Albuquerque, they're just getting lost. And I've seen that problem magnify in the time that I've been retired. This isn't just about trying to become a professional politician. This is about someone who's committed to public service. I've been retired for 10 years and still working and serving my community with the nonprofit, trying to find better pathways to improve quality of life for our young children, keeping them motivated, keeping them inspired, and keeping them engaged to sit there and have a life with principles that matter for the rest of their lives so that they don't get caught up in making mistakes. I also believe that the housing crisis, an easy solution is going to be the ADUs, increasing density. Why is that important? It's probably the best way to preserve generational wealth. Instead of having people go out there and get loans that they may default on a $400,000 house, build an ADU in the backyard. Keep that generational wealth with that family so that they have opportunities in the future and for themselves, their young children, or their elderly parents. And it's also about working hand in hand with building trades. I'm proud to say that I've been endorsed by 9 different local unions in Albuquerque. Thank you. And those kind of partnerships matter when we're trying to find pathways pathways to the middle class to make sure that people can have the income that they need to be able to sustain a family, to be able to maintain a good quality of life within their community and be a sustainable part of our community. And it's about establishing partnerships that begin with I believe, with our schools. Again, It's all about investing in the kids. An investment in the youth is an investment in the future. An investment in housing is an investment in a safe neighborhood. And as a community, we can flip the script on this negative narrative that our city and state consistently has. And we can find pathways to make sure that we could do positive things for our community and put us back on the top of the good things list so that people want to stay in Albuquerque and people want to do business in Albuquerque. I'm Aaron Grego, candidate for Albuquerque City Council.
All right, howdy everybody. So I want to answer the question about ranked choice voting. I actually, right before this, was just endorsed by New Mexico Voters First, which is a group that advocates for ranked choice voting because of my strong support for ranked choice voting. It just makes sense. Okay, thank you. So a little bit about myself. Well, you guys have actually already heard about me. Guys, here's the thing. I'm running for city council because this is my home. And I hope that this is my home for a very long time. And what that means is that those decisions that I want to go out to city council to make, they're not just decisions for decisions. They're going to be decisions that I hope affects me for the rest of my life. Things like our public safety, things like our economy, and our improved quality of life. You guys heard me talk about cool stuff. It's because I want to improve our quality of life. Public safety, I think safer neighborhoods, I think we can make our neighborhoods safer with a little bit of compassion. Stronger local jobs and business. I literally own my own business. I have a team of young people that I employ, and not only do they get to watch me struggle to own a business, I get to watch them struggle as young people make decisions about their budget. And they tell me, well, that's how it is. And I tell them, I understand those same struggles because I still feel them at 29 and you are 21. There has to be a better way forward for our young people. There has to be a way that we can make this a city that we want to work, live, and play in. There has to be a way that we can make an Albuquerque that we can all be proud of. An Albuquerque that has opportunities for our youth. An Albuquerque that's safe for our families, and an Albuquerque that takes care of our elderly because after a lifetime of service, they deserve to be taken care of. And that's my goal for Albuquerque. So my name is Daniel Gilbert Leyva, and I hope to have your vote.
We're going to come back to Mr. Griego with the ranked choice voting question.
Yes, I'm sorry, I passed on the ranked choice voting question on accident, but I would tell you, just being honest, I don't know a lot about it. I'm looking forward to learning more about it, but it seems to be pretty supportive, and so I'm looking forward to more positive conversations from people that help me understand it better. And thank you.
Thank you. For those of you that don't know about Indivisible Albuquerque, we meet here weekly. Our candidate forums continue next week at 6 p.m. We will have City Council District 3, and we will also have Matthew McQueen, who's a Democratic candidate for land commissioner, will be speaking. October 6th, we're going to have a very interesting meeting, The Truth About AI. We have two experts in the artificial intelligence field who will be here, and we'll have one city council candidate from District 9, Colton Newman. His opponent, Renee Grout, has declined a forum, so we will just hear from Colton. October 13th, we will have a school board candidate forum, and Mervyn Tilden will be here to talk about 2025 and the Native American sovereignty. So thank you all for coming tonight. I want to thank our fantastic candidates. Thank you for your time. I know this isn't the first forum you've been to, and I appreciate you making time for us. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.